The ship you just booked might be a floating money trap, crawling with mold, failing engines, and norovirus outbreaks that sickened 700 passengers in a single sailing. The brochures look stunning. The loyalty points feel reassuring. But behind that polished marketing, Royal Caribbean is quietly sailing rust bucket ships that have not had a meaningful upgrade since your kids were in elementary school. Today I am exposing the 8 Royal Caribbean ships you need to avoid at all costs. The ones with sanitation failures, sewage smells, and engine breakdowns that left thousands stranded at sea. And then I will tell you the 3 that are actually worth every dollar. Because not all Royal Caribbean ships are the same. The gap between their worst and their best is the difference between a nightmare and a vacation you will remember for the right reasons. Coming in at number 8, Enchantment of the Seas. The oldest trick in the fleet. Enchantment launched in 1997. That's not history. That's a liability dressed up in a fairy tale name. This ship has been sailing for nearly 3 decades, and it shows in every corridor and every creaking cabin door. Royal Caribbean has amplified it twice, which sounds impressive until you realize what that means. A new pool slide, some fresh paint, and a press release. What they did not replace is the aging plumbing that passengers describe as smelling like sulfur by day 3, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems that cannot keep up with Caribbean heat, and the carpeting that absorbed a decade of cruise passengers before you ever set your suitcase down. I have seen countless travel forums where people booked Enchantment thinking they found a deal, and came home describing rusted balcony railings, drains that backed up on day 2, and a television that received 3 channels. They paid $2,800 for 4 nights. They could have booked a completely different ship for $200 more. Royal Caribbean keeps Enchantment running because it is cheap to operate and fills up with first-time cruisers who do not know to ask which ship they are actually booking. Do not be that person. And trust me, number 7 is even older. At number 7, Rhapsody of the Seas. A Vision-class ship that can't see the future. Rhapsody has been sailing since 1997. Same era as Enchantment, same aging bones, same fundamental problem. Royal Caribbean has done just enough to keep it technically operational, while quietly hoping passengers won't notice how far behind it's fallen. There's no specialty dining worth mentioning. The entertainment options are thin. The pool deck is cramped. The Wi-Fi, which costs the same as on a modern vessel, runs at speeds that would embarrass a coffee shop in 2009. Passengers booking Rhapsody for the first time consistently leave the same review. It was fine. Fine is not what you should be spending your vacation budget on. Fine is what you say when you're too polite to say disappointing. Number 6, Grandeur of the Seas. The ship that literally caught fire and never fully recovered. In April 2012, Grandeur was sailing from Baltimore to the Bahamas when a fire broke out in the aft mooring area at 2:30 in the morning. Passengers woke to evacuation alarms. The fire burned for hours. The ship was towed to Freeport. Nearly 2,500 passengers had their cruise cut short, while Royal Caribbean scrambled to find them flights home. Nobody died. Refunds were issued. The official story became, the ship was repaired, everything is fine. But here is what that story does not tell you. Grandeur had already been sailing for 16 years before the fire. The repairs could not undo what time and a significant fire event do to a ship's systems. Passenger reviews since then consistently mention inconsistent air conditioning, a musty smell on lower decks that no amount of housekeeping can fully eliminate, and a worn quality that goes beyond normal use. Grandeur also operates Royal Caribbean's least glamorous itineraries, short Bahamas runs and repositioning routes. That is not a coincidence. The fire did not just burn the aft mooring area, it burned whatever was left of the ship's ceiling. At number 5, Navigator of the Seas. The Voyager class that peaked in 2002. When Navigator launched in 2002, it was genuinely groundbreaking. It had a rock climbing wall, an ice skating rink, and a royal promenade running through the middle of the ship like a floating mall. For early 2000s cruising, it was extraordinary. The problem is, 2002 was a long time ago. Royal Caribbean amplified Navigator in 2019 with water slides, an escape room, and updated venues. It helped, but amplification on an old ship is like renovating the kitchen of a house with failing plumbing. The shiny parts are shinier, the bones have not changed. Voyager-class ships have logged a disproportionate number of propulsion incidents over the years, the kind that result in missed ports and last-minute itinerary changes passengers only find out about after boarding. And those famous promenade view cabins that sound charming in the brochure? Your window looks directly into a shopping corridor where other passengers walk past at 11 p.m. while you are trying to sleep. Before we move on, if you want to keep making smarter travel decisions, hit subscribe. You will thank yourself later. Taking the number 4 spot, Liberty of the Seas. It is Freedom class in name. Anything but free of problems. When Liberty launched in 2007, it was one of the largest ships ever built, and for a few years it was genuinely impressive. Liberty is now approaching 20 years of service, and it has not aged gracefully. The Freedom class was amplified, with new slides and refreshed venues, but no renovation can change the cabin sizes, the hallway widths, or the fundamental experience of being on a vessel designed before the iPhone existed. The ship feels aged. Passenger reviews use the same word over and over: dated. The dining room service is stretched thin. The casino is massive, which comes at the expense of public spaces that feel chronically overcrowded on sea days. Liberty has had documented propulsion incidents resulting in port substitutions nobody wanted. Royal Caribbean's response, a partial onboard credit, does not compensate for the itinerary you planned and paid flights around. You are paying near premium prices for a genuinely mid-tier experience, and that gap is a problem every passenger on this ship eventually notices. Number 3. Explorer of the Seas. 700 sick passengers. 1 sailing. The outbreak that should have ended a ship's reputation. In January 2014, Explorer departed from Cape Liberty, New Jersey. By the time it returned, over 700 passengers and crew had been struck down by what the CDC confirmed as norovirus and sapovirus, one of the largest onboard illness outbreaks ever recorded. Passengers described their cabins as quarantine cells. The medical center was overwhelmed within days. The CDC investigation found multiple systemic sanitation failures, not bad luck, but the kind of failures that happen on an aging ship running itinerary after itinerary without adequate time for deep cleaning. Royal Caribbean apologized, issued refunds, and deep cleaned the ship, and then kept sailing it. Explorer launched in 2000 and carries all the same aging infrastructure issues as Navigator, compounded by 4 more years of wear. A passenger who booked it recently, unaware of the history, spent 2 of her 7 days bedridden. The medical center charged her $400 for IV fluids her onboard insurance conveniently did not fully cover. She researched the ship after she got home. What she found nearly made her sick all over again. This is a ship that should have been retired, not rerouted. At number 2, Independence of the Seas. A broken promise that keeps sailing out of Southampton. Independence launched in 2008 as the 3rd Freedom-class ship and became Royal Caribbean's flagship vessel for the UK market out of Southampton. That visibility is exactly the problem. Royal Caribbean knows that British passengers have historically had fewer options and less comparative knowledge, so the ship keeps filling, and because it keeps filling, there is no pressure to replace it with something the brand can actually be proud of. The 2018 amplification was supposed to be transformative. What passengers received was a ship taken out of service for months, returned with new additions bolted onto unchanged bones, and immediately put back in rotation. Interior cabins are so small that solo travelers describe needing to stand in the corridor to open their suitcase. The entertainment lineup draws consistent complaints from anyone who has sailed a newer Royal Caribbean ship. Independence keeps sailing because it makes money, not because it deserves yours. And finally, at number 1, Freedom of the seas. The original problem child of a problem class. Freedom launched in 2006 as the largest cruise ship in the world, a landmark moment for Royal Caribbean, and the beginning of a template that has not aged well. The $116 million amplification in 2020 was marketed aggressively. New water slides, updated venues, fresh paint. And within 2 years, Freedom was generating the exact same complaints as before. Dated cabins despite surface-level refreshes. Dining that felt understaffed and uninspired. A royal promenade that becomes a bottleneck on sea days. A pool deck designed for 2006 expectations that cannot absorb 3,600 passengers without feeling like a theme park in August. Royal Caribbean charges current prices for this ship. That renovation bought them another decade of service without fundamentally improving a single passenger's experience. The company took the money. You're still paying for it. But now, let's talk about the ships that actually earn your money. At number 3 on the worth it list is Allure of the Seas, after its 2023 amplification. The Oasis class, properly done. The $165 million renovation replaced nearly every major entertainment venue, redesigned the pool deck, and overhauled dining across the ship. What came back out of dry dock was effectively a new ship, inside one of the smartest hull designs ever conceived. 7 distinct neighborhoods, Central Park with real living trees, and an aqua theater that stages full acrobatic productions over open water. The post-amplification Allure delivers the Oasis-class experience as it was meant to be, with current food concepts, properly maintained entertainment, and cabin finishes that match what you actually paid. If you are cruising Royal Caribbean for the first time, this ship shows you what the brand looks like at its ceiling. At number 2, Wonder of the Seas. The Oasis class, perfected. Wonder launched in 2022 and takes everything the Oasis class does well, then refines it with a decade of operational feedback. The suite neighborhood is the differentiator, a dedicated section exclusively for suite guests with its own pool, restaurant, bar, and sun deck. Book a suite on Wonder, and you are effectively on a different ship. Smaller, calmer, more elevated, sharing engines with a megaship that carries 7,000 passengers, but feeling nothing like it. Even outside the suites, Wonder delivers consistently. The aqua theater shows are the best in the fleet. The dining options, hooked seafood, mason jar Southern kitchen, and Jamie's Italian are genuinely good, not cruise standard good. Wonder's Central Park has matured into one of the most beautiful spaces at sea, outdoor, green, and quietly extraordinary, in a way that should not be possible on a ship this size. It is the standard by which the rest of the fleet should be judged. And taking the number 1 spot, Icon of the Seas. This is what the future of cruising actually looks like. Icon launched in January 2024 as the largest cruise ship ever built, and Royal Caribbean did not just build bigger, they built differently. 8 neighborhoods, 6 water slides, the largest water park at sea with a raft ride that drops 7 stories, an adults-only hideaway with an infinity pool cantilevered off the side of the ship, a Crown's Edge skywalk 154 feet above the ocean. But here's what matters more than the superlatives: it works. Ships this ambitious have historically launched with operational chaos. Icon launched and immediately generated some of the strongest passenger satisfaction scores in Royal Caribbean's history. The dining quality, a genuine weak point across the older fleet, is elevated throughout. The cabin finishes are what every Royal Caribbean ship should feel like, but mostly does not. The gap between Icon and Freedom of the Seas, which you might book for $400 less, is not $400 worth of difference. It's a decade of difference. Book the right ship, and you will understand why people spend years saving for a single vacation. Book the wrong one, and you will spend the entire sailing wishing you had done the research first. There you have it. 8 ships coasting on the Royal Caribbean name while delivering experiences that do not justify the price. 3 ships prove the brand is still capable of greatness when it actually tries. Don't book a cruise without checking the ship name first. The itinerary does not matter if the vessel is the problem. Drop a comment with which ship you are sailing on or which one left you disappointed. I will be reading every one. Hit subscribe, and I will keep breaking down exactly what is worth your vacation days and what is not.